Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the COASTER-net Top 3. We've got 3 news stories that you might have missed this past week, and we're going to start with a real big chunk of news here because Universal has bought up another huge tract of land in Orlando. This is getting a little bit ridiculous. You may remember that a few months ago, Universal bought a number of smaller pieces of land that a lot of people said could add up to a 4th gate. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this new tract of land will definitely be big enough. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it will definitely be big enough for a 4th gate. So Universal now has the ability. Plus, they also got all of the restrictions lifted on this land, meaning that they can do and build the theme park and not have any problems with legal issues and issues with zoning boards and community boards and all that. So Waterparker, you got to believe that this is a 4th gate. What might we see here?
Well, Andy, the thing for me is the fact that Universal has been adding in a lot of new properties over the past several years. And now what we're starting to see is that Universal's adding a new property. I'm believing that's probably going to be a theme park. Now, of course, this is a huge swath of land. This is 101 acres, adding on to on top of what they originally bought of 475. Now, Andy, we already know that they've gotten rights to the Nintendo property. From Nintendo, they're going to be adding in new Nintendo properties to what I believe is to be all of their parks.
Because originally we heard that they were taking out, the Barney area in Universal Studios, taking out the Woody Woodpecker stuff, and maybe putting the Nintendo area back there. Mm-hmm. It would really have to be shoehorned in back there, and some people were kind of skeptical, especially considering a lot of that area is used for Halloween Horror Nights, which has become such a big part of their business. You can put haunted houses anywhere, though. I think Cedar Fair's taught us that. But so you wonder if they ran the numbers, they ran the schematics, and they said, what, we might as well just put this somewhere else. I personally would like to see it in a completely different area to do it right, to not be hedged in by other stuff in the park. Although I will say this, Universal Studios could use a refresh. You just built the Harry Potter stuff, but to have Nintendo there too would be another huge draw for people to go to Universal proper. But like you said, if they put it in both parks, now you might start differentiating and do Nintendo, and then possibly do just Super Mario or something bigger in the separate park.
Well, and something that has been brought up a lot of times in my discussions with people in Orlando is the fact that what if we're going to see a Jurassic World area? Because we saw Kong go in, but everyone keeps on wondering, where's Jurassic World? Where is it? And
Waterparker, I've been down this road already.
I know.
Jurassic World, still one of the top movies ever made.
And they're making a new one.
There's a sequel coming out, and yet we do not have a theme park ride to associate with this property that Universal owns. They don't even have to license this.
I don't want to see a big hairy ape, Andy. I want to see a T-Rex gnawing at my gyrosphere. I want to be riding in the gyrosphere and see the Indominus Rex biting into it. Seriously, that's what I want to see.
The movie made the rides for you. You don't even have to think of it.
I want a petting zoo. I want to pet a baby trike. I mean, come on.
Well, they used to have that. They got rid of the Triceratops encounter.
But
don't get me started on that. So anyway, we got to move on here.
We got to move on.
So the problem is Nintendo's going to be big. It's going to have the marketing tie-in. Jurassic World would be big. People are somewhat saying Lord of the Rings, and I'm kind of like, I feel like the time has passed on Lord of the Rings. That, it's kind of this timeless thing, but are kids going to buy into that? Who's exactly buying the ticket?
I will. Take me to the Lonely Mountain, Andy. Give me
No.
a small ride.
I'm one of the biggest nerds in the world, and Lord of the Rings just never did it for me. I watched all of them. I watched The Hobbits. It just never resonated with me, and I don't know what it was. I'd much rather see something else, anything else actually, than Lord of the Rings.
Hey, you know what? You got something else though at Universal with the new Fast and Furious. That's something.
Well, let's move on to our second story then. So the second story you might have missed is that Fast and the Furious Supercharged soft opened this past weekend, and we already have a number of reports from people. Our friend, the legend at In the Loop, he gave a very detailed report, and from his entire report, it's exactly what I suspected it was going to be. It's a lot like the tram tour from Universal Hollywood. That's what they did with King Kong. So King Kong, it was basically the same ride system. King Kong and Fast and the Furious in Orlando are using very similar ride systems. Both of them mimic the tram cars from Hollywood. So in the one in Hollywood, it's basically just the 360 part. Orlando added an extra scene on, and then, of course, added the big animatronic at the end as well. Lame. So it sounds like Supercharged here for Fast and the Furious, much of the same, very similar scenes in between them. You know, some people are criticizing the CGI on it, saying it's a little fake. I thought the Kong stuff, when they put in CGI humans in the Kong stuff, it really irritated me. I'm just like, why can't you use a real actor here and have it look real? So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a licensing thing, if it's an Actors Guild thing. I don't know what that's all about. But once again, here with Supercharged, they did use real actors, but some of it seems unrealistic. Some of it seems very hokey. They said the queue line's amazing. They said that there's one scene that they've added on the front. So instead of having the animatronic Kong, you have a real-life car scene, which they said was real cool. But not huge reviews coming out of here. And Waterparker, I just have to wonder why. Why? So in Hollywood, you can queue up once, you can get Kong, you can get Fast and the Furious, you get Jaws still, but here you have to queue up 2 separate times to get basically the same experience, and they're spending a ton more money on queue line experiences. I don't understand what they've done there. They put in Kong, they put in this, they put in Fallon. I don't understand any of it.
I think that the goal, Andy, is the fact that, you know, a lot of Universal execs understand that not a lot of people can go from Universal Orlando to Universal Hollywood. So I'm guessing in that respect, they're trying to go and elaborate on these small scenes. Now, of course, as you mentioned,
but they're not elaborating a lot. They're elaborating a little, and it's like, why?
A little bit. And, you know, in my opinion, Andy, if it's something new that's going to bring more people to the parks, then add it. It revives that
question. Why isn't Fast and the Furious like a test track like ride? How cool would that be?
And that's what I was about to get into, Andy, though. Why is it that we have something that is still, yet again, a motion simulator attraction in all respects, and, you know, in all honesty, it is. Green screen all over the place. I would love to see a brand new car experience that goes above and beyond what we have already with Test Track. Test Track, in my opinion, was a little bit neutered with the new Chevrolet expansion. I think that they could have definitely done something that was supercharged, make it into a launched coaster, and have a great experience. They just took out 2 world-famous inverts. They could have replaced them with one very cool launched Vekoma. We just saw what they have with Top Gun. They could have made the same exact thing with with a car. But
I just don't understand the line of thinking at Universal Studios over the last few years that they literally hit grand slam home runs with Harry Potter, hit them out of the ballpark, and then, you know, people criticize, well, Transformers was just Spider-Man with a different overlay. I thought Transformers was really good. Harry Potter stuff I thought was great. Gringotts I thought missed the mark. I think that's where we really started seeing Universal. You know, they had an idea. They wanted to make it a roller coaster, but then they didn't go all in on it. They went into dark ride instead of roller coaster, and it should have been roller coaster, not dark ride. people still like it, fine. But ever since Gringotts, downhill.
Hey, they're bringing the movies to life, Andy.
But here's my question, and I was talking to Danny about this morning. I said, why Universal never, like, I never got the impression that they would put in new rides every year. And it seems like all of a sudden that they have this move that they have to put in a new ride every year, and it has to be 20 to 25 million. Whereas before, they used to put in a new ride like Transformers, once every, 3 or 4 years, and it would be more expensive. I would much rather see them spend a huge amount of money, $100 million, on one really good ride than putting in 3 or 4 bad rides. And I feel that that's what Kong was. I feel that's what this is. I feel that's what Fallon is. Yes, you're trying to get those sponsorships. You're trying to get those movie tie-ins. You're trying to get Jimmy Fallon in the park to promote it. That's all fine and good and dandy. But things are feeling real similar to me all of a sudden. And yeah, you could say, well, roller coasters are all the same, but they all have their own flavor to it. This stuff just, a lot of people are saying it's not hitting the mark.
Well, and in all honesty, Andy, you have to think about this too. Universal is trying to compete with Disney. And Disney right now has gotten the Avatar property.
Disney's going to blow them out of the water in the next few years.
And I feel as if they're trying to go and compensate because they can't go put in Star Trek. They can't go and put in all these IPs. And I'm thinking to myself, where are they going to get their big, giant ticket market? Because Harry Potter could go so far. I mean, the new movies are pretty cool, but, I mean, come on. It's Star Wars.
Well, they said in the new park, the rumor is that they're going to try and tie in the Ministry of Magic and try and tie in the new movies more. And I'm just like, they're going to the Harry Potter well once again. Disney, on their other hand, Avatar, Toy Story, Star Wars, Tron, Guardians of the Galaxy. 5 separate years, 5 separate IPs.
And
5 separate IPs.
And how many of those, Andy, have been world hits?
Avatar was amazing.
Avatar.
Toy Story looks like a fine addition, a fine update to that section that drastically needed something. Star Wars is going to blow the world up, maybe. You might as well just blow the world up now because Star Wars is going to do it in 2019.
White flag.
The Tron coaster is going to be outstanding. The Guardians of the Galaxy seems like a revolutionary new type of roller coaster. It seems like Disney has now become what Universal has claimed to be. Universal's whole pitch is, when your kids grow up, you come to Universal. Guess what? Kids are growing up, and they're staying at Disney.
I'm a Disney baby. Look up here, Andy. I've got books to prove it. I mean...
I was never a huge Disney fan. I was never like, I have to go to Disney. And Disney has now announced stuff that I now want to go to that park for the next 4 years. And I don't know if I will, but I at least want to. Universal, I'm talking about going to Horror Nights in October. I'm talking about not even walking into the day park because I have no desire to go to anything there. I could care less about all the new stuff that they put in. And they've taken out stuff that I did like. So there you go.
Yeah. Hey.
So anyway, let's move on again.
Yep.
Thanks for getting me started. Twice.
Hey, it all just takes one big hairy ape here, people.
I tell you what, it starts with that damn Kong. So our last story tonight is the announcement. Oh, you're gonna get me started again here.
Get started.
The announcement of Six Flags Great America is getting Holiday in the Park. Waterparker, I don't even know what to say. Well, first let me say I think it's a good idea. And I'm going to say it's a good idea because like Winterfest didn't have a whole lot of rides open, had Mystic Timbers open, none of the other coasters were open. If that's what you are expecting walking into Holiday in the Park, you're probably going to get that. Because Chicago gets super cold. They ran a fall event in November, and a lot of times the stuff wasn't even open in November because it was so cold and rainy and bad weather. I think the concern is that sometimes you can get really nice Decembers, and sometimes you get really crappy Decembers. So this goes beyond just having the rides open, because I know a lot of the other Holiday in the Parks have the rides open. this goes beyond just having a decent experience in the park, because they're going to have lights, they're going to have activities. But if it's too cold to walk in the gate, nobody's going to go. Like, I'm not going if it's 20 degrees outside.
I think that to highlight on that, the last weekend of Winterfest at Kings Island, no one was there because it was that cold.
It was cold.
And
it's
there
cold
right
in the
now,
winter.
They're talking about that they're going to be running Batman, the B&M invert, Batman the Ride, during the holiday event.
The problem is the other holiday in the parks can get away with it. You can get away with it in St. Louis. You're far enough south. You can sometimes get away with it at Great Adventure because you have the Atlantic wind currents and stuff. Sometimes keeps it a little warmer. Sometimes they have to close everything. New England, it's a little rough there too. Obviously the southern stuff, you get away with it easily. I just feel Chicago has it's hit or miss every year. Yeah. You don't know what you're going to get. Yep. So yeah, it's going to extend the season. Am I probably going to go? Yeah, I'm kind of excited to go. I feel like it's something to do during the off season. And the way I'm approaching is there will be no rides open, and it's going to be all experiential. And if there is a ride open and I get to ride it because the line isn't ridiculous, and that's the other issue. If you only have a couple of rides open, Great America has terrible lines to begin with. When everything's open, so like it's just that many people go, I feel like I still might not be able to ride because the line is prohibitive of that.
Well, hold on, Andy. You're missing something. You're missing one of the greatest attractions to come in decades to Six Flags Great America. What if Mardi Gras Hangover's open?
I'm assuming that it is.
But, hey,
that's the attraction of attractions.
Yeah,
that roller coaster. I hope that roller coaster is open for sure.
Hey, maybe get a snow ride. Snow ride in the snow. There we go. But hey, you know what, Andy? I'm just gonna say this now.
It Kent Valley, right? It's a circle.
I'm hoping that the park has a great time with the holiday event. Kings Island took a huge bargain on Winterfest. It went full on ahead. It was nice. The problem is, though, the fact that Chicago has the northern winds.
And I think that's fun when it's cold.
That's where I'm going to see the problem. Now, of course, if everyone comes in thinking, oh, it's just going to be the events, Kings Island knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure whether or not Six Flags can do the same. I understand that they do a lot of different things with Six Flags, a lot of special live characters. I'm hoping that they could do something like that. I don't know. I'm hoping for the best, but hey, you're going to be there. You might freeze to death, but you might be there.
And the thing about it is I wanted to go to Kings Island this year, and that was a 4-hour drive, and I knew that only Mystic Timbers was open for the most part. Here, I can get generally the same experience. Obviously, I'm not going to get Mystic Timbers, but I can get generally the same experience and only have to drive 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal for me. And I like Christmas events. In the city, you have the Lincoln Park Zoo that they do zoo lights. I've been to that a couple of times. It's really cool. You hang out, you walk through the lights, you see the lights, you drink a hot chocolate, and you have a good time. You go out to dinner somewhere. If that's what this is going to be, it's going to be a good time. It's going to draw people. But I think if people are expecting to ride rides, I think that's when this falls apart, because there's a very good chance that a handful of rides are open, if any.
Yep.
But there's also the flip side. You can get 55-degree days in December some years in Chicago. It's not uncommon. I shouldn't say it's not uncommon, but it can happen. So you might hit a very wonderful weekend that this place is open. And I also have to look at the dates here too, and what days they're going to be open, and to see if it's just weekends, if they're going to open up after Christmas. It'd be interesting to see what happens here. But I'm somewhat excited about Holiday in the Park. Should be pretty cool. I'll be there. I'll film something.
And I guess something to think about here, Andy, is the fact that, Chicago's further north than Cedar Point.
And Great America isn't even in Chicago. Great America is almost in Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. Like Great America is significantly further south. Great America is halfway between Milwaukee and Chicago. So you are talking about much more northern areas. My sister lives 10 minutes from the park, and she gets hit with snow way more than I do on the south side of Chicago. way more. So you're talking about whole different weather patterns up there.
Well, I'm just wondering if this goes well. What about Cedar Point?
They said no. Because Cedar Point's a different case. Cedar Point, it's not weather at Cedar Point. Cedar Point is staffing. And they're not by a big city, so they can't get people to work. And Tony Clark said this to us multiple times at different Ride Warrior Club meetings. People always ask, what about, Winterfest at Cedar Point? And the answer's always been probably not, because we do not have the ability to staff. And here's the other kicker. The buildings do not have heat. So they never installed heat because it's a summer resort. They had no intentions of you have some places that have heat for haunt, but he's like, most of the stuff it's not built for super cold weather. So even the heaters that they have aren't going to heat places the way that they should. So it's staffing, it's heating, it's logistics, it's everything. So I don't ever expect to see Winterfest at Cedar Point. If they do, I'd be shocked. I'd be absolutely shocked. They have trouble enough staffing the haunt season.
Yep.
Well, you know how that goes. You've been there. So, so anyway, I think that wraps us up for tonight. 3 topics, and you got me fired up all 3 times, Waterparker.
Hey, if you guys have any discussions that you guys want to have down below, please feel free, go and comment to us. Say, hey, Waterparker, you got this wrong. Or, hey, Andy, why do you hate the big hairy ape? Go and comment down below, guys. And as always, stay tropical.
Yeah, if you want to raise hell, ask me about Kong, and I'll give you hell. So, as always, thank you. I'm Andy and Waterparker from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm the Waterparker from Cincinnati, Ohio. As always, stay tropical.
Right on, Ride Warriors.